I waited in the men's room, the sound of my own breathing louder than anything else. The tiled walls felt cold, and I looked at the man in the mirror, the one who had been through so much, who had sacrificed everything to build what he had. A life of hard work, late nights, deals made under pressure, and always being there for Jake, even when it felt like he wasn't there for me. I felt the sting of betrayal, but also a calm certainty. There was no turning back now. I couldn't confront him now, not in the chaos of the wedding. That would be too obvious, too messy. But I knew something would have to be done. I'd spent years keeping my emotions in check, my secrets close to my chest. Today, I would finally do what was necessary. Not for revenge, no, but for closure, for the truth. I wiped my face with a paper towel and looked at myself one last time. It was time to face the music. There was nothing left for me to do but watch Jake marry Emily and then play the game I knew best. The one I'd spent my whole life preparing for. I walked downstairs trying to ignore the pit in my stomach. The lobby of the Grandview was grand, as it always was. The chandeliers glistened in the late afternoon sun filtering through the tall windows. Guests milled about, laughing, chatting, drinking champagne. I took a moment to look around, savoring the surreal feeling that came with witnessing the biggest mistake of my life unfolding. Jake and Emily would have their moment, their perfect day, the day when I would be nothing more than a spectator. They would exchange vows, they would kiss, and they would leave the hotel as husband and wife. But it was all just a show, a charade. I knew the truth, and that was what kept me calm. I stood by the door to the ballroom, watching Jake stand at the altar, smiling like everything was perfect. And Emily, standing beside him in a white gown that shimmered in the light, her eyes bright with anticipation. She was playing her part well, looking every bit the loving bride. She was a great actress, no doubt, but I knew who she really was. A gold digger. And Jake? He was too blinded by love, or something that resembled it, to see it. I glanced around the room, catching the eye of a few old acquaintances, business partners, family friends, people who had been part of my life for decades. They all smiled politely, knowing who I was, but no one truly understood what was going on behind the scenes. They didn't know about the papers Jake had signed. They didn't know about the plan that had been set in motion months ago. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. I hadn't raised my son to be this way. I hadn't sacrificed everything to see him turn into this man. But I had to remind myself. It wasn't just Jake who had failed me. Emily was just as much a part of this. She had played her role so well that even I had been fooled at first. She had wrapped herself around him like a vine, her charm laced with something darker beneath the surface. The ceremony began. The music played softly, and everyone turned their attention to the altar. I stood in the back of the room, as far away as I could without drawing attention. My heart was beating faster than it should, but I couldn't show anything. Not yet. Not when the world was watching. I glanced over at Jake again. He was smiling at Emily, his eyes filled with the kind of love that made me sick to my stomach. How could he not see it? How could he not see what was coming? He thought he was getting everything: love, security, a future with a woman he believed was the answer to his happiness. But he didn't realize he was about to lose everything: his family, his company, his freedom, all of it. And that was what hurt the most. Not the betrayal itself, but the fact that Jake would never know the truth until it was too late. The vows were spoken, the ring exchanged. I watched as they kissed, and the room erupted in applause. Jake and Emily turned to face the crowd, their hands clasped together, smiles wide. But I didn't join in the applause. I stood frozen, watching as the reality of the situation sank in. I had lost him. My son. The one person I thought I could trust above all others. And I had no idea how to get him back. Not after everything he had done. I waited until the reception started. The noise of celebration filled the air. but I felt disconnected from it all. The clinking of glasses, the laughter, the music, none of it mattered. My mind was elsewhere, locked in a battle of its own. Then, I saw them, Jake and Emily, standing by the entrance, accepting congratulations and well wishes from the guests. She was beaming, her arm linked with his. He was happy, and that made my anger grow. But it also made me realize that I needed to be smart. I had to play this out, not rush into anything that would give them the upper hand. I spotted the table where the wedding gifts had been placed, and something inside me clicked. If I was going to take back what was mine, I needed to be patient. The plan was already set into motion, but there was still a step I had to take. I walked over to the table and pretended to admire the gifts. A few boxes caught my eye, and I casually started inspecting the tags, making sure no one was watching me too closely. As I stood there, I overheard a conversation between two guests behind me. It wasn't hard to hear, given how close they were. "Did you hear? The old man is giving everything to Jake," one of them said, his voice full of mockery. "I don't believe it," the other replied, a tinge of disbelief in his voice. "He's been working on that business for years, and now he's just handing it over to a kid who doesn't know the first thing about it?" "It's all about the wedding," the first man said, his tone conspiratorial. "You know how these things go. Make a big show of it, get everyone on your side, and then take what you want. I'm sure Jake's got the old fool fooled." I gritted my teeth, holding back the urge to turn around and confront them. They didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't understand the years of work and tears that had gone into building everything. But I knew, and soon, so would Jake. The reception was in full swing now, the noise louder, the laughter more genuine. I felt more and more like an outsider, trapped in a world I no longer recognized. But I wasn't here to enjoy the celebration. I was here to finish what I had started. I turned my attention back to the newlyweds. They were dancing now, a slow, romantic song playing as they swirled around the floor. Emily's face was serene, her smile content. Jake looked happy, his eyes never leaving hers, but I could see the cracks forming already. He didn't know the truth, but I would make sure he learned it. The evening passed in a blur, and when the reception finally started to wind down, I knew the time had come. I made my way to the back of the ballroom towards the private office where the business documents were being stored. I had a key to the office. A small detail Emily and Jake hadn't considered. It was my last move. I opened the door quietly, making sure no one saw me. Inside, the papers were neatly arranged on the desk, the business transfer documents sitting there like a ticking time bomb. I smiled to myself as I walked over to the desk and picked up the papers. Tomorrow, everything would change, but it wouldn't be Jake who took control. It would be me. I grabbed a pen from the drawer and signed my name at the bottom of the contract, just as I had done years ago when I first built the company. But this time, there was a difference. This time, it wasn't a signature for the future. It was a signature for the end of everything. The end of a life I had built. The end of a family I had tried so hard to protect. And when I left the room, I felt no relief. Only the weight of the years behind me, and the knowledge that everything was about to come crashing down. Before we continue, we ask you to subscribe and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. The dinner continued, the sounds of clinking silverware and soft conversation filling the air. I barely touched my food, the salmon sitting untouched on my plate. My mind was elsewhere, focusing on the next step, the one that would come after all of this, the real game, the part Jake and Emily had no clue about. Jake was still smiling at the head table, enjoying the adoration of his guests, his hand still resting on Emily's, the woman who had so easily wrapped him around her finger. I couldn't blame him. She was beautiful, charming, everything any man could want. But she wasn't his, not really. Not anymore. I glanced around the room, watching the guests enjoy the evening. A few of them came up to congratulate me on my speech, offering polite compliments. I gave them all the same smile, a smile that felt like a mask. They didn't know what I knew. They didn't know the truth about Jake and Emily, about the plan they had in motion. To them, it was just another wedding, another celebration of love. But I knew better. The speeches continued, each one more sentimental than the last. Jake's best man, his college friend Tom, told some funny stories about their time together at university. They laughed, and I could see the joy in Jake's eyes. But what caught my attention more than anything was the way Emily clung to him. It wasn't love I saw in her eyes. It was something else, something cold, something calculating. I could feel it now, the weight of what was coming. It wasn't just about the business anymore, or the apartment, or the succession planning. It was about the betrayal, the complete erasure of everything I had worked for. When it was finally my turn to speak, I stood up slowly. The eyes of the room were on me, waiting. I could feel their gaze, but I didn't let it bother me. This wasn't for them. This was for Jake. "I'm not much for speeches," I said, my voice steady, but inside my heart was pounding. "But I want to say a few words about my son." Jake's smile stretched wider, and I saw Emily's face brighten as she squeezed his hand. The show was going perfectly, I thought. They had no idea what was about to happen. "Jake has always been ambitious," I continued, my voice carrying across the room. "Even as a boy, he knew what he wanted. He wasn't afraid to go after it. That's a quality I admire." A few people nodded in agreement. Some murmured, "Hear, hear," the polite response of a well-educated crowd, the kind of people who always knew when to say the right thing. "He's taking over the family business soon," I said, my words calculated. "Some of you know I've been grooming him for years, teaching him everything I know about construction, about managing people, about building something that lasts." Jake smiled again, his chest swelling with pride. He thought this was it, his moment, the culmination of everything he had worked for, the business, the house, the life with Emily. But it wasn't. Not yet. "I'm proud of the man he's become," I said, my voice filled with a quiet authority that seemed to hang in the air. "And I'm happy he's found someone to share his life with." I raised my glass, the crystal catching the light as I did. "To Jake and Emily." The room echoed with the response, "To Jake and Emily." The clinking of glasses rang through the ballroom, and I sat down, my smile never faltering. Jake gave me a thumbs up from across the room, his eyes full of warmth, full of pride. He had no idea at all. I could see it now, how all of this, the wedding, the celebration, the speeches, was just the setup, the preparation for the final act. I had made my move. Now, all I had to do was wait. The night wore on, the music shifting to something more upbeat as the dance floor opened. Jake and Emily took to the center, their movements graceful, perfect. They were the picture of happiness, the way every couple should be on their wedding day. But it was all a facade, and it was crumbling with each passing moment. I watched them from my seat, my eyes trained on Emily's face. There was something there, a flicker of something I couldn't quite place. It was in the way she looked at Jake, not with love, but with something colder, more distant. She was playing her part, and playing it well. Too well. I stood again, excusing myself from my table, my legs feeling strangely heavy as I made my way to the back of the room. I needed space, air, to think. The hallway behind the ballroom was quiet, the sounds of the reception muffled through the thick walls. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. I knew this was what had to happen, but that didn't make it any easier. It never did. I checked my watch, almost 10. Time was slipping away faster than I had anticipated, but I knew what I had to do. I walked down the hallway, my mind a whirl of thoughts and calculations. I didn't stop until I reached the back office. The door was unlocked, just as I had left it earlier. I stepped inside, the familiar scent of paper and ink filling the air. The documents were still there, neatly arranged, waiting for their final signatures. I walked over to the desk, my hands steady as I flipped through the papers. The contract was as clear as day. Business ownership, property transfers, the legalese all set in place. Jake had no idea. Not about the real power I held, not about the strings I was pulling from behind the curtain. I had created this situation. I had built this plan. And now, I was going to finish it. The pen felt heavy in my hand as I poised it over the final line. I hesitated for just a moment, a single breath of doubt, before signing my name. The signature was firm, resolute. This was it, the final move. As I put the pen down, I let out a long, slow breath. There was no turning back now. I turned off the light and left the room, closing the door behind me. The next steps were already in motion. The guests were still dancing, still celebrating. But the real work was happening quietly, away from their eyes. I walked back to the ballroom, my steps deliberate. My chest felt tight, but my resolve was stronger than ever. Jake was still dancing with Emily, still lost in the fantasy they had created. But the fantasy was about to end. I glanced at the clock again. Midnight was approaching. It wouldn't be long now. I made my way to the front of the room, to where the microphone stood. The reception was in full swing, the music loud, the laughter infectious, but I wasn't here to celebrate. I was here to finish what I had started. Jake had no idea what was coming. He thought this was just a wedding, just a party, just a life about to be handed to him. But this was where it ended, where the truth came out. I stepped up to the microphone. The noise in the room gradually died down, the guests beginning to notice my presence. Jake and Emily were still in the middle of the floor, the spotlight on them. I cleared my throat, my voice strong as I spoke. "Excuse me, everyone," I said, my eyes scanning the room. "I just have one final thing to say." The guests fell silent. They were waiting, eager for more words of wisdom from the father of the groom, but they wouldn't get what they were expecting. "This night," I continued, my voice unwavering, "marks a new beginning for Jake, a new chapter in his life, and I'm proud to have been part of that journey." I looked directly at Jake, and for a moment, our eyes locked. He was smiling, still blissfully unaware. But the time for smiles was over. "However," I said, my words slow and deliberate, "I think it's time for the truth to come to light." The room went still. The music faded into the background. Jake's smile faltered. Emily's face went pale. It was time. The cake was cut at 9. First dance at 9:30. By 10 o'clock, people were getting drunk and loose. The DJ played louder music. Some of the older guests started leaving. I was standing by the bar when Emily approached me. She'd changed into a simpler dress for dancing. Her smile was bright and perfect. "Richard, can we talk for a minute?" "Of course." She led me to a quiet corner near the windows. Jake was watching from across the room. "I wanted to thank you," she said, "for everything, the wedding, the generosity. You've been so wonderful. You're family now. That means a lot." She paused. "Actually, there's something I wanted to ask you. Something important." Here it comes, I thought. "Jake and I have been talking," she continued, "about the apartment, your apartment downtown." "What about it?" "Well, we were thinking it would be perfect for us. We're in that tiny place right now, and with Jake taking over the business, it would make sense for us to be closer to the office. The office is 3 blocks from where you live now." Her smile faltered slightly. "Yes, but your place is bigger, and it's paid off. We could really use the space. I'm still living there." "Oh, we know. We thought maybe you could move into something smaller. We'd help you find a place, of course, something easier to manage." I looked at her, really looked at her. She was 26 years old, pretty, smart, ruthless. She'd found Jake 2 years ago at some networking event. Within 6 months, they were engaged. Within a year, she was planning our future. That's very thoughtful, I said, but I'm happy where I am. It's just an idea, she said quickly. Something to think about. I'll think about it. Actually, she reached into her clutch purse. We were hoping you might give us the keys tonight, as a wedding gift. We're not asking you to move out tomorrow or anything, just, symbolically, to show you trust us. I stared at her. The audacity was almost impressive. You want my apartment keys, right now, at your wedding reception. It would mean so much to us. No. Her smile disappeared completely. What? I said no. She blinked at me, like she couldn't process the word. Behind her, I saw Jake start walking our way. Richard, I don't think you understand. I understand perfectly. You want my home. The answer is no. Jake arrived. Everything okay here? Your wife is asking for my apartment keys, I said, as a wedding gift. Jake put his arm around Emily. Dad, we talked about this. It makes sense. You're getting older. You don't need all that space. I'm 52, not 90. We're family, Emily said. Her voice had an edge now. Family shares. Family helps each other. You've known me for 2 years. I'm your daughter-in-law, her voice carried. A few people nearby turned to look. Jake gripped her shoulder, trying to calm her down. Let's discuss this later, Jake said quietly. Not here. But Emily was done pretending. We've been patient, we've been respectful, we've done everything right, and you can't even do this one thing for us? I've done plenty for you, I said. This wedding cost me $40,000. Money you have plenty of. She was almost shouting now. Money you're hoarding while we struggle. You're struggling? With your lawyer salary and Jake's position at my company? Jake stepped between us. Dad, please, not now. But Emily pushed past him. You're a selfish old man. Jake warned me about you. He said you've always been like this. Controlling, stingy, making him beg for everything. More people were watching now. The music seemed quieter. That's enough, Jake said to Emily. Then to me, let's go outside. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Emily's face was red. She was breathing hard. And then she did something that surprised even me. She slapped me, right across the face. Hard enough that my head turned. Hard enough that my cheek stung. Hard enough that the entire ballroom went silent. I touched my face, looked at her, at Jake, at the 200 people staring at us. Then I smiled. Enjoy your party, I said. I'm going home. I walked out. Nobody stopped me. Behind me, I heard Emily start to cry. Jake's voice, trying to explain, the murmur of shocked guests. I got my coat from the check room and left the hotel. I didn't go home. Not right away. Instead, I drove to my office. It was Saturday night, almost 11. The building was empty. I rode the elevator to the 4th floor and unlocked the door to Harper Construction. My company. Built from nothing. I started out swinging a hammer on job sites. Now I had 40 employees and contracts worth millions. Jake was supposed to inherit all of it. I sat at my desk and opened my computer. Then I started making phone calls. First call, Tom Bradley, my lawyer. He answered on the 3rd ring. Richard, it's late. Is everything okay? I need you to stop a business transfer. The succession documents I signed last week. The ones putting Jake on as co-owner? Richard, we filed those on Friday. Unfile them. It doesn't work like that. Those documents are legal and binding. Jake is now part owner of Harper Construction. I closed my eyes. How much? The paperwork gave him 30% ownership. Can we reverse it? Not easily. He's a legal owner now. We'd need his signature to undo it. Or we'd need to prove fraud or coercion, which would be very difficult. What are my options? Tom was quiet for a moment. Why are you asking me this? What happened at the wedding? Just tell me my options. You still own 70%. You're still the majority shareholder and CEO. You control all business decisions. Jake can't do anything without your approval. That's what the documents say, yes. Change my will. Tonight. I want everything to go to charity. Richard, can you do it or not? I can draft something. But we should talk about this in person. Monday morning. Fine. Monday morning. I hung up. Second call. David Park, my accountant. It went to voicemail. I left a message asking him to audit all company accounts and look for any irregularities in the past 6 months. Third call, Mike Torres, my oldest friend and the foreman on my biggest crew. He answered after one ring. Rich? What's wrong? I need a favor. Name it. Come to my office. Bring Paul and Steve if they're available. Right now? Right now. On my way. I hung up and pulled out the filing cabinet. Found the folder with Jake's employment records. Started reading through every timesheet, every expense report, every project he'd supposedly managed. Mike arrived 30 minutes later with Paul and Steve. They looked worried. What happened? Mike asked. You look like hell. Wedding was interesting. I showed them my cheek. The red mark from Emily's slap was still visible. Jesus, Steve said. Who hit you? My new daughter-in-law. What? Long story. I need you to help me with something. I spread Jake's records across the desk. Jake's been my project manager for 18 months. He's supposed to be supervising jobs, managing crews, making sure we stay on schedule and on budget. Mike nodded. Yeah, we've met with him a few times. How's he doing? Mike and Paul exchanged a glance. Be honest, I said. He's not doing great, Mike admitted. He shows up maybe once a week, takes credit for other people's work. A couple times he's given instructions that contradicted yours, caused some confusion on the sites. Has anything gone missing? Materials, equipment, money? Another glance. Talk to me, I said. Paul spoke up. The Riverside project. We had supplies delivered in March. Top-grade lumber, about 15,000 worth. Half of it disappeared before we could use it. Jake was managing that project. Yeah. Did you report it? We told Jake. He said he'd handle it. We never heard anything else. I wrote it down. What else? They told me. Small things, mostly. Supplies that vanished. Hours billed for work that wasn't done. Subcontractors who never showed up but still got paid. Nothing catastrophic, but it added up. How much are we talking about? I asked. Mike did some mental math. Over the past year, maybe 60, 70,000? I sat back. Jake was stealing from me. Not just the business. From me. Can you document all of this? I asked. Every incident. Dates, amounts, witnesses. Sure, Mike said. But why? What's going on? I'm cleaning house. I spent the rest of the weekend building my case. Saturday night into Sunday morning, I went through 5 years of company records, found dozens of irregularities, payments to vendors we didn't use, expense reports for trips Jake never took, equipment purchases that never arrived. Sunday afternoon, I met with Tom Bradley at his house. We drafted a new will, everything to charity. Jake would get nothing. Sunday evening, I called a private investigator named Lisa Chen. She specialized in corporate fraud. I hired her to tail Jake and Emily for the next week. What am I looking for? She asked. Anything useful? Where they go, who they meet, what they're doing with their time? This is about your son? Yes. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just get me information. Monday morning. I got to the office at 6. Jake showed up at 10. He looked terrible, tired, hungover, miserable. He saw me sitting at my desk and stopped in the doorway. Can we talk? He asked. Come in. Close the door. He sat down across from me, didn't meet my eyes. Emily feels terrible about Saturday night, he said. Does she? She was drunk, emotional. The wedding stress got to her. Uh-huh. She wants to apologize. I'm sure she does. Jake finally looked at me. Dad, I know things got out of hand, but we're still family. We can move past this. Can we? Yes. If you're willing to forgive and forget. I leaned back in my chair. What exactly should I forget? The part where your wife assaulted me? Or the part where you called me an old fool? His face went pale. What? I heard you. Before the wedding. Outside the bridal suite. Dad. You said I thought you really loved me. You said everything would be yours by Monday. Jake opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. You misunderstood. Did I? We were joking around, wedding jitters. It didn't mean anything. You were joking about stealing my business and my home. That's not what we were doing. Then what were you doing? He stood up. This is crazy. You're being paranoid. Sit down. No, I'm not going to sit here and be accused. Sit down. He sat. I pulled out the folder with his records, slid it across the desk. Riverside Project, I said. 15,000 in missing lumber. You were the project manager. There was theft. I reported it. To who? The police. Show me the police report. I don't have it with me. Because you never filed one. That's not true. I pulled out another document. Highland Street renovation. You billed the client for 3 weeks of supervision, but according to Mike, you showed up twice. Mike is wrong. Is Paul wrong too? Is Steve wrong? Are all my foremen lying? Jake's jaw clenched. You're going to believe them over me? I'm going to believe the evidence. I kept pulling out documents, kept listing the problems. Jake kept denying, explaining, making excuses, but his voice got weaker with each one. Finally, I closed the folder. I'm removing you as project manager, I said. You can't do that. I'm the CEO. I can do whatever I want. I own 30% of this company. You own 30%. You don't run it. I do. The succession documents give you ownership, not control. You're still my employee, and you're a terrible employee. Jake stood up again. This time I didn't stop him. This is because of Saturday, he said. You're punishing me because Emily wanted the apartment. This is because you're incompetent, and because you've been stealing from me. I haven't stolen anything. $60,000. That's what you've cost me in the past year, through theft, negligence, or stupidity. Take your pick. You can't prove any of that. I don't have to prove it. I just have to fire you. His face turned red. You fire me, and I'll sue. I'll take you to court. I'll make your life hell. Go ahead. I will. I'll get lawyers. I'll drag your name through the mud. Everyone will know what kind of father you are. What kind is that? The kind who turns on his own son over money. I stood up slowly, looked him in the eye. Get out of my office, I said quietly. Dad, get out. You're suspended without pay pending investigation. I'll let you know when we're done. You can't suspend me. I'm part owner. Watch me. He stared at me. For a moment, I thought he might take a swing. But he didn't. He grabbed the folder off my desk, threw it at the wall, and stormed out. Papers scattered everywhere. I sat down and started picking them up. Lisa called me Wednesday afternoon. I have something, she said. Can you meet? We met at a coffee shop downtown. She showed me her phone. Your son and daughter-in-law have been busy, she said. The photos showed Jake and Emily meeting with various people. Real estate agents, lawyers, a man I didn't recognize. Who's that? I pointed at the unknown man. His name is Viktor Petrov. He's a business broker, specializes in buying and selling small companies. Why are they meeting with him? I don't know yet, but they met twice, once Monday night, once Tuesday morning. I studied the photos. Jake looked excited in all of them. Emily, too. What else? They've been apartment hunting, looking at places in the 2 to 3 million range. They don't have that kind of money. They're pre-approved for a mortgage, based on projected income. What projected income? Lisa showed me another document. This is an income verification letter. Says Jake earns $400,000 annually as COO of Harper Construction. He's not COO. He earns $80,000 as a project manager. The letter is fake, but the bank doesn't know that. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. They're taking out loans based on lies. Looks like it. Can we prove it? The verification letter has your signature on it. She showed me, and there it was. My signature. Perfect forgery. He forged my signature, I said. Probably, but good luck proving it. The bank accepted the letter. The loan is in process. I took pictures of everything with my phone. Keep following them, I said. I want to know everything they're doing. Will do. Richard, be careful. These kinds of situations can get messy. It's already messy. Thursday morning, Jake showed up at the office. I had security escort him out. Thursday afternoon, I got a letter from his lawyer demanding reinstatement, back pay, and damages for emotional distress. Thursday evening, Emily called me. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. Please, just give me 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her. Coffee shop, public place. She showed up looking apologetic, sad eyes, humble posture. I'm sorry about Saturday, she said. I was out of line. Yes, you were. I was drunk, stressed. I said things I didn't mean. You slapped me. I know, I'm ashamed. I've been seeing a therapist about my anger issues. Good for you. Richard, please. Jake is miserable. This is destroying him. Can't we find a way to fix this? Did Jake send you here? He doesn't know I'm here. I came because I love him, and I love you too. Your family. I'm the old fool, remember? She flinched. You heard that. Every word. We weren't talking about you. We were talking about Emily's uncle. He's been giving us trouble about the prenup. You're a terrible liar. Her expression shifted. The sadness disappeared. Fine. You want the truth? Jake hates you. He's hated you for years. You're controlling, cheap, and impossible to please. No matter what he does, it's never good enough. Is that what he tells you? It's what I've seen. You dangle the business in front of him like a carrot, but you never let him actually run anything. You micromanage everything he does. You treat him like a child. He acts like a child. He's trying his best. His best is stealing from me. He hasn't stolen anything. $60,000. I have documentation. That's accounting errors. You're twisting things to make him look bad. I'm seeing things clearly for the first time. Emily leaned forward. Her voice dropped. You give him his job back, or we go to war. What kind of war? The legal kind. We'll sue for wrongful termination, age discrimination, hostile work environment. We'll tie you up in court for years. I'm 52. Age discrimination doesn't apply. We'll find something. There's always something. I stood up. This conversation is over. You're making a mistake. Probably. But it's my mistake to make. I left her sitting there. Friday morning, Tom called. We have a problem, he said. What now? Jake is trying to force a sale of the company. He can't do that. He's claiming mismanagement, says you're running the business into the ground. He's demanding a third-party audit and a board meeting to discuss your fitness as CEO. We don't have a board. Technically, as a 30% owner, he can demand one. This is insane. It gets worse. He's filed papers to freeze company assets pending the audit. Can he do that? He can try. A judge would have to approve it. But if he makes a good enough case, how do we fight this? We show that you're running the company well. We provide financial records. We demonstrate that the business is healthy. It is healthy. Then we should be fine. But Richard, this is going to get expensive. Legal fees alone. I don't care about the cost. There's one more thing. Jake is claiming that you've been siphoning money from the company for personal use. That's absurd. Is it? You own 70%. You take a salary. You have an expense account. He could argue that you're enriching yourself at the company's expense. Every dollar I've taken is legitimate. I believe you, but we'll need to prove it, which means audits, depositions, discovery. It's going to be ugly. I sat down heavily. How did this happen? You gave him 30% of your company. That gave him power. I was trying to prepare him for the future. I know. But now he's using that power against you. I thought for a long moment. Tom, I want to buy him out. What? His 30%. I want to buy it back. That could be expensive, and he'd have to agree to sell. Make him an offer, fair market value, cash payment. I'll try, but don't get your hopes up. The offer went out Friday afternoon. Jake rejected it Friday night. His counteroffer, he wanted $5 million. For a 30% stake in a company worth maybe $2 million total. Tell him no, I said. He says that's his final offer. Then we'll see him in court. Saturday, I met with Mike and the rest of my crew. Told them what was happening. Jake is going to try to take over the company, I said. He's going to make things difficult, but we keep working. We keep doing our jobs. We don't engage with him or Emily. What if they show up on job sites? Mike asked. Call me. Don't confront them. Just call me. Are we going to lose the company? Paul asked. No, we're going to win this, but it's going to take time. They all nodded. These were good men, loyal men, men who'd worked with me for years. I appreciate you standing by me, I said. You've always been fair to us, Mike said. We're not going anywhere. Sunday, I went to church. I'm not particularly religious, but I needed the peace. Sat in the back pew and tried to clear my head. A woman sat down next to me, Margaret, Jake's aunt. I heard what happened, she said quietly. News travels fast. Emily has been calling everyone, telling her side of the story. Let me guess. I'm the villain. She says you fired Jake for no reason, that you're trying to cut him out of his inheritance. That's not what happened. I know. I've known you for 20 years, Richard. You're a lot of things, but you're not petty. Thank you. What are you going to do? Fight back. Jake is your son. Jake is a thief and a liar. Margaret sighed. He wasn't always like this. When he was little, he was such a sweet boy. People change. Emily changed him. She's the one pushing all this. Maybe, but he's old enough to make his own choices. What happens if you win? I get my company back. And Jake? Jake learns that actions have consequences. She patted my hand. I'm praying for you, for both of you. Pray for Jake. He's going to need it more than me. Monday morning, the audit began. 2 accountants from an independent firm showed up and started going through everything. Every receipt, every invoice, every bank statement. They were there for 3 days. Wednesday afternoon, they called me into the conference room. We've completed our review, the lead accountant said. Your books are clean. Thank you. However, we did find some irregularities. My heart sank. What kind? Payments to vendors that don't appear to have delivered goods. Expense reports for trips that don't match company records. Equipment purchases that we can't verify. That's what I've been telling you. Jake was handling those transactions. We understand. We flagged all of them. Total amount is approximately $62,000. Can you prove Jake was responsible? The transactions were authorized with his project manager credentials. His signature is on the approvals. So you can prove it. We can show that he approved suspicious transactions. Whether that constitutes theft or fraud would be up to law enforcement. I sat back. What about the claims against me? That I've been mismanaging the company? We found no evidence of mismanagement. The company is financially sound. Your salary and expenses are appropriate for a CEO of a company this size. There's no evidence of improper enrichment. Will you put that in a report? We already have. They gave me a copy. I read through it twice. It was exactly what I needed. Thursday morning, Tom filed the report with the court. By Thursday afternoon, Jake's motion to freeze company assets was denied. Friday morning, Jake showed up at the office again. This time, he got past security by claiming he was there for a meeting. I was in the conference room with Mike when Jake walked in. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. Yes, we do. You've won, okay? You made your point. Now let's figure out how to fix this. There's nothing to fix. I'm your son. You're a 30% shareholder in my company, that's all. That's all? That's all I am to you? What do you want me to say, Jake? You called me a fool. You tried to steal from me. You forged my signature. You sued me. Because you fired me. Because you were stealing. Mike stood up. I'll give you two some privacy. No, I said. Stay. This won't take long. Jake glared at Mike, then back at me. I want my job back. No. I want you to buy out my 30%. $4 million. Final offer. No. Then what do you want? I stood up, looked him in the eye. I want you to sign over your 30%. To me. For free. He laughed. You're insane. I want you to admit you stole from the company. I want you to apologize. And I want you to walk away. That's never going to happen. Then we continue fighting. I'll win eventually. No, you won't. I have lawyers. I have resources. I have Emily's family backing me. You have 30% of a company that I built. I have 70% and every employee on my side. You can't win. I can make your life hell. You already have. He stepped closer. You know what your problem is? You never believed in me. You never thought I was good enough. I gave you everything. You gave me scraps. You gave me the jobs nobody else wanted. You gave me a title with no real power. You treated me like an employee when I should have been your partner. You were 26 when you started. You had to learn. I had 2 years of learning, 2 years of you looking over my shoulder, questioning every decision, treating me like an idiot. Because you made idiotic decisions. I made one mistake. One project went over budget and you never let me forget it. You made dozens of mistakes, and instead of learning from them, you hid them. You lied. You stole. I didn't steal. $62,000. The auditors confirmed it. Jake's face was red. Those were legitimate expenses. Then why did you hide them? I didn't hide anything. You used fake vendors. You approved payments to companies that don't exist. You pocketed the difference. Prove it. I don't have to. The auditors did. He took another step forward. For a second, I thought he might hit me. But Mike was there, and Jake wasn't that stupid. This isn't over, Jake said. Yes, it is. He turned and walked out, slammed the door hard enough that the windows rattled. Mike looked at me. You okay? I'm fine. He's not going to let this go. I know. What's your plan? I sat down. I'm going to bury him. Over the next 2 weeks, I systematically dismantled Jake's life. First, I reported the forged income verification letter to the bank. They launched an investigation. Jake's mortgage application was denied. The apartment they were planning to buy fell through. Second, I filed a police report about the theft. The detective assigned to the case was skeptical at first, but after reviewing the audit report and the documentation Mike had compiled, he opened a formal investigation. Third, I hired a forensic accountant to trace where the $62,000 had gone. She found that it had been funneled through a series of shell companies and eventually deposited into a personal account belonging to Emily. Fourth, I contacted every business associate Jake had worked with over the past 2 years. I told them that Jake was no longer with the company and that any contracts or agreements he'd made were subject to review. Several of them admitted that Jake had tried to recruit them for a competing business. Fifth, I filed a lawsuit, not against Jake, against Emily, for fraud, theft, and conspiracy. I named her personally and went after her assets. This was the move that broke them. 2 days after Emily was served with the lawsuit, she showed up at my office. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair pulled back, wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Please, she said, drop the lawsuit. No? I'll pay back the money, every penny. Just don't take this to court. You don't have $62,000. I'll get it. I'll borrow it. I'll work it off, please. Why should I? Because Jake had nothing to do with this. It was all me. I don't believe you. It's true. He didn't know about the money. I set up the shell companies. I forged the signatures. He's innocent. He knew exactly what you were doing. No, he didn't. Emily, stop lying. She started crying. I'm not lying. I did this. I wanted us to have a better life. I wanted us to have what we deserved. Jake just went along with it. That's still guilt. Please, the lawsuit will destroy me. I'll lose my job, my license, everything. You should have thought about that before you stole from me. She wiped her eyes. What do you want? Tell me what you want, and I'll give it to you. I want Jake's 30%. Done. We'll sign it over today. And I want a full confession. Everything you did, everything Jake did. Signed and notarized. I can't do that. They'll arrest us. Then I'll see you in court. She stood up. You're destroying your own son. My son destroyed himself. He loves you. No, he doesn't. He loves my money. You're wrong. Am I? Then where is he? Why isn't he here fighting for you? She didn't have an answer for that. Not my problem. You're heartless. I'm practical. You two tried to ruin me. Now I'm returning the favor. She left without another word. That night, Jake called me. He was drunk. You win, okay? He slurred. You win. Is that what you wanted to hear? I don't want to hear anything from you. Emily is falling apart. Then get her help. This is your fault. My fault? I didn't steal from myself. You backed us into a corner. We needed that money. For what? Apartments you couldn't afford? A lifestyle you hadn't earned? We wanted what you have. I worked for what I have, for 30 years. And we were supposed to just wait? The honesty was almost refreshing. So that was the plan. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. Silence on the line. Give me the 30%, I said. Give me a confession, and I'll drop the lawsuit against Emily. And what do we get? You get to avoid prison. That's it? That's everything. More silence. I'll think about it, he said. You have 24 hours. I hung up. The hours dragged by after that. I couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness that settled in my chest as I went through the motions of my day. The office was still, too quiet for comfort. I couldn't tell if it was the weight of the paperwork or the silent reminder of everything that had happened that had caused the disquiet. But as the morning wore on, I found myself more focused on the mundane tasks. Emails to answer, phone calls to make, meetings to schedule. Anything to keep my mind occupied. I stared at the photo of Jake, now resting in the drawer, the edges of the frame worn from years of handling. The memory of that little boy, the one who had worn a hard hat too big for his head, still lingered in my mind. I had loved him. I had built everything I had with the hope that one day he would take it over. I had been proud of him. And now, that same boy had betrayed me. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I had been, at first. But anger had a way of fading when you realized there was nothing left to fight for. The letter he left me was enough. Enough to make me realize that everything he did came from his own brokenness, his own lack of understanding. The greed, the lies, the betrayals, they were all products of something much deeper, something I couldn't have fixed, not by myself. I had tried to teach him, to show him what hard work meant, what loyalty meant, but in the end, he had chosen to follow someone else. He had chosen Emily's way instead of mine. The letter also made me realize something else, something I hadn't considered. Jake wasn't the same person he used to be. The boy who had looked up to me, the boy who had trusted me with everything, was gone. And the man who had walked into my life, pretending to be my son, wasn't the same man who had left it. He had already made his decision. He was leaving me behind, just like his mother had all those years ago. The thought of it sat heavy on me. The morning turned into afternoon, and the office began to fill with the usual noise of work. Phones ringing, workers coming and going, the buzz of activity. But I couldn't escape the lingering weight of the past few days. My company was back in my hands, and for a moment, that should have felt like a victory. But there was no triumph in it, no joy. The phone rang. I answered without looking at the caller ID. "Richard, it's Tom," the voice on the other end said. "I just wanted to check in with you. Everything's settled, right? The paperwork's all done. We've got the signatures from both of them. It's over." I closed my eyes for a moment, rubbing my temples as I leaned back in the chair. "Yeah, it's over." "You don't sound like it's over," Tom said, his tone softening. "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, I'm just tired," I replied, my voice quieter than I intended. "This whole thing, it's been a lot, more than I expected." "I get it. You should take a break, Richard. Maybe a vacation. Go somewhere, relax. You've earned it." I shook my head, though he couldn't see it. "I don't think I can. I've spent my whole life building this company. I'm not about to walk away from it now." "I hear you," Tom said, with a slight chuckle. "But don't let the bitterness take over. The last thing you need is to burn out. You've got people who rely on you. The work never ends, but it's not the end of the world either." I didn't reply right away. Instead, I just let his words hang in the air. Part of me knew he was right. The work was always there. And I had people depending on me. People who had been with me for years. People who had worked hard alongside me. I couldn't leave them. But there was a growing emptiness inside of me, one that wouldn't be filled by anything other than time. I needed that. I needed to heal, even if I wasn't sure how. "I'll think about it," I said, my voice hoarse. "Thanks for the call, Tom." "Anytime, Richard. Take care of yourself." We ended the call, and I sat back in my chair, staring out the window. The city outside looked unchanged. Life was moving on, just like it always had, but I felt like I was standing still, stuck in this moment that seemed to stretch on endlessly. The door opened, and I glanced up to see Mark, one of my project managers, standing in the doorway. "You okay, boss?" he asked, a hint of concern in his voice. "You've been in here a while." I nodded, forcing a smile. "Just thinking, Mark. It's been a long week." "I hear you," he said, stepping into the office and closing the door behind him. "You've been through a lot, but you're still here, still running things. That's what matters. We need you." I appreciated his words, even if they didn't ease the weight I felt. I gestured to the chair across from me, and Mark took a seat. "I've got a couple things I need to go over with you," he said, his usual business-like demeanor returning. "But first, are you doing okay?" "I'll be fine," I replied, more sharply than I intended. "Let's just get to it. What's on the agenda?" Mark didn't push. He opened his folder and started detailing the projects that were currently in progress: client meetings, construction permits, timelines that needed to be adjusted, the usual stuff. As we went through the updates, I realized something. Work had become the only thing I could rely on, the one constant in my life. Sure, I had my crew, I had my reputation, but beyond that, there was nothing else. Jake was gone. Emily was gone. The future was uncertain, but I had to keep pushing forward. That's what I knew how to do. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I signed contracts, approved budgets, made calls. At some point I realized it was evening again, the office quieter now as people filtered out to go home. I stood up from my desk, stretched, and grabbed my coat. Before I left, I stopped by the supply room and grabbed a few boxes of paper and pens, things I needed for the next day. As I passed the desk, my gaze caught the drawer where I had put the letter from Jake and the photo. I didn't open the drawer. I didn't need to. I had already read the letter enough times to know the words by heart. I locked the office and made my way outside. The cold air hit me as I stepped onto the sidewalk. The world felt different now, like it was spinning in a direction I couldn't control. I thought about Jake again, about everything he had done, everything he had taken from me, and how it all seemed so small in the grand scheme of things. A few signatures, a few lies. And now, nothing. I drove home in silence, the city lights flashing past in a blur. When I arrived, my apartment was quiet again. Too quiet. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't need to. I went straight to the kitchen and opened a bottle of bourbon. The glass was cold in my hand. The amber liquid swirled as I stared out the window. The world was still turning, still moving forward whether I was ready for it or not. The phone buzzed, and I saw it was a message from Tom. "Just checking in. You good?" I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "Yeah," I typed back. "I'm good." But the truth was, I wasn't sure I was. 3 months passed. The company stabilized. Mike took over as project manager and did a better job than Jake ever had. We finished the Riverside project ahead of schedule. We won 2 new contracts. Revenue was up 15%. Emily made her first restitution payment on time. $500, exactly as agreed. She included no note, no message. Just a check. I hadn't heard from Jake. According to Margaret, he'd moved to Colorado. He was working construction again. Entry-level stuff. He'd told her not to give me his number. I told myself I was fine with that. Lisa, the private investigator, sent me her final report. It included everything she'd discovered about Jake and Emily's plans. They'd been trying to sell Harper Construction to Viktor Petrov for $3 million. Petrov was going to flip it to a larger firm for $5 million. Jake and Emily would have walked away with $2 million after paying off Petrov. It was a good plan. It almost worked. I paid Lisa's invoice and thanked her for her work. One evening in late January, I was locking up the office when I saw someone sitting in a car across the street. The streetlight was dim, but I recognized the vehicle. Jake's car. I walked over. He rolled down the window. "Hi, Dad." "Jake?" He looked different. Thinner, older, sober. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I wanted to see the place, one more time." "It's still standing." "Yeah, I heard business is good." "It is." We were quiet for a moment. "I'm leaving tomorrow," he said. "Going back to Colorado. I just wanted to, I don't know, say goodbye, I guess." "Okay. I'm working for a small firm out there. Framing houses. It's good work." "Good. Emily and I are done. Divorce is final next month." "I know." "She blames me for everything. Says I ruined her life." "Did you?" He laughed bitterly. "Yeah, pretty much." Another silence. "Why did you drop the charges?" he asked. "Because you're my son." "Even after everything?" "Even after everything." He looked away. "I don't deserve that." "Probably not. I was going to destroy you." "I know. But you didn't destroy me." "I thought about it. Why didn't you?" I thought about how to answer that, about all the rage I'd felt, about the betrayal, about the moment when I heard him call me an old fool. "Because destroying you wouldn't fix anything," I finally said. "It wouldn't give me back the son I thought I had. That son never existed." "Maybe not, but I'm too old to spend the rest of my life hating you." He nodded slowly. "I'm going to pay you back, the full $62,000. It'll take me years, but I'll do it. Emily's already paying. It was my debt too. I should pay it." "Fine. Pay it if you want." "I will." He started the car. "Jake?" I said. "Yeah?" "Don't come back here. Not for a long time. Maybe not ever." "I know. But if you ever need help, real help, not money, not favors. But if you're in trouble and you need someone, call me." He looked at me with wet eyes. "Okay. I mean it." "I know. Thank you." He drove away. I stood there in the cold, watching his taillights disappear down the street. 6 months later, I was at a construction site when my phone rang. Unknown number. "This is Richard." "Mr. Harper, this is Detective Morrison. We spoke last year about your son." My stomach dropped. What happened? Nothing bad. I wanted to let you know that we've closed the investigation. No charges will be filed. Why not? Full restitution has been made. All parties have cooperated. And frankly, it's not worth the state's resources to prosecute what amounts to an internal family dispute. Jake paid the full amount? Last week, $62,000 exactly, plus interest. I sat down on a stack of lumber. That was fast. He said he'd been saving every penny, working double shifts, sold his car, said he needed to make it right. Thank you for letting me know. Mr. Harper, your son is trying. I've seen a lot of cases like this. Most of the time, the kids never change. But Jake, I think he's really trying. I appreciate that. Have a good day. I sat there for a long time after the call ended. That night, I drafted an email to Jake, care of Margaret, since I didn't have his address. Jake, Detective Morrison called. He said you paid the full amount. You didn't have to do that. Thank you. I'm proud of you for trying to make things right. If you ever want to talk, you have my number. Dad. I hit send before I could change my mind. 3 days later, Margaret forwarded me Jake's response. Dad, thank you for the email. I did have to pay it back. I owed you that and more. I'm doing okay out here. The work is hard but honest. I'm seeing a therapist, working on myself. I don't know if we'll ever have a relationship again, but I want you to know that I'm trying to be better. Not for you, for me, because I don't want to be the person I was. I hope you're doing well. I hope the company is thriving, and I hope someday, maybe a long time from now, we can sit down and talk. Really talk. Not about money or business or what I did wrong. Just talk. Like fathers and sons are supposed to. Jake. I printed the email and put it in the drawer with the photo and the letter. A year passed, then 2 years. I ran my company. I hired good people. I built things that lasted. Jake stayed in Colorado. He sent Christmas cards, brief updates. He got promoted to foreman. He started dating someone. He was still going to therapy. We didn't talk, but we didn't have to. Margaret kept me updated. She said he'd changed, really changed. He was humble now, careful. He'd learned his lessons the hard way. I believed her. Or I wanted to believe her. On the 3rd anniversary of the wedding, I was in my office late at night when the phone rang. Hi, Dad. I recognized his voice immediately. Jake. I hope I'm not calling too late. It's fine. What's up? I'm getting married. Congratulations. Her name is Sarah. She's a teacher. She doesn't know anything about construction or business or money. She's good. Really good. I'm happy for you. I wanted to invite you to the wedding. It's small, just family and close friends, nothing fancy, but I'd like you to be there, if you want to. I looked at the drawer where I kept his letters, his photo. When is it? September 15th, it's in Denver. I'll check my calendar. Dad, I know I don't deserve... Stop. Don't do that. Just tell me about Sarah. And he did. For 45 minutes, he told me about this woman he loved, about how they met, about how she made him want to be better, about how she didn't care about his past, only his future. I listened, and for the first time in 3 years, I heard my son's voice without anger or hurt behind it. Send me the details, I said when he was done. I'll be there. Really? Really. Thank you. That means everything. Jake? Yeah? I'm proud of you. His voice cracked. Thanks, Dad. We hung up. I sat there in my office in the dark and I cried. Not from sadness, not from anger, just from release. September 15th was beautiful. Clear sky, mountains in the distance. The wedding was in a park. Maybe 50 people. Sarah was exactly what Jake had described. Kind eyes, easy smile. She hugged me like I was already family. I sat in the front row and watched my son get married. When the ceremony was over, Jake found me. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. Can we talk? Later? Just you and me? Sure. After the reception, we walked through the park, just the two of us. I need to say something, Jake said. Okay. What I did to you was unforgivable. I know that. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I want you to know that I understand now. What you built, what you sacrificed, what I tried to take from you. Jake, let me finish, please. I nodded. I spent 3 years hating myself, he continued. 3 years trying to figure out who I am when I'm not your son, when I'm not the guy who's going to inherit a business, just me. And who are you? I'm a construction worker, a foreman, a guy who shows up on time, does honest work, and goes home tired. That's it. That's all I am. And that's enough. That's more than enough. I wanted to tell you that because I need you to know. I'm not coming back. I'm not going to ask you for anything. I don't want the business. I don't want your money. I just want to live my life and be a good husband to Sarah and maybe someday a good father. You will be. I hope so. We walked in silence for a while. Can I ask you something? He said. Anything. Why did you give me a second chance, after everything? Why didn't you just cut me off completely? Because you're my son, and because I remember who you were before everything went wrong. That kid is gone. No, he's not. He's standing right here. Jake stopped walking, looked at me. I love you, Dad. I love you too. We hugged, really hugged, for the first time in years. When we pulled apart, he was smiling. Come on, he said. Sarah wants to meet you properly, and I want to hear about the business. How's Mike doing? Is that Riverside project finally done? 3 years ago, we built 4 more just like it. That's great. You always said that design would work. We walked back to the reception, talking about construction and crews and the weather in Colorado versus back home. Normal things. Father and son things. And for the first time since that wedding 3 years ago, everything felt right. I flew home the next day. Went back to work, back to my life. But I kept Jake's wedding photo on my desk, right where everyone could see it, because he'd earned it. And so had I. 6 months after Jake's wedding, I was in my office when Tom called. I have news, he said. What kind? The good kind. Remember Victor Petrov, the business broker Jake tried to sell your company to? Yeah. He's going to prison. Fraud, money laundering, the works. FBI just closed the case. How long? 15 years. I leaned back in my chair. Jake dodged a bullet. More than one. If he'd gone through with that sale, he'd be sharing a cell with Petrov right now. Does Jake know? I don't know. Want me to tell him? No. I'll do it. I called Jake that night. Hey, Dad. What's up? Victor Petrov is going to prison. Silence. Wow, Jake finally said. How long? 15 years. Jesus. You were one signature away from being his accomplice. I know. Believe me, I know. Sometimes we get lucky. It wasn't luck. You stopped me. If you hadn't fought back, I would have gone through with it. Maybe. Definitely. I was all in, Dad. I was ready to burn everything down. But you didn't. Because you didn't let me. You saved me from myself. I was trying to save my company. You saved both. We talked for another hour. About business, about Sarah, about the life he was building. It felt easy now. Natural. When we hung up, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Jake. Not at Emily. Not at anyone. I was just grateful. Grateful that I'd fought back, grateful that Jake had learned, grateful that we'd found our way back to something resembling a father and son. It wasn't perfect. It would never be what it was before. But it was real. And that was enough. I turned off the lights in my office and drove home through the dark streets, thinking about revenge and forgiveness and all the space between them. I'd gotten my revenge. I'd taken back what was mine. I'd made them pay. But in the end, the best revenge wasn't destroying Jake. It was watching him become the man he should have been all along, and knowing that I'd helped make that possible, not by giving him everything, but by taking it all away,